Hi everybody, Sniper69 here. Today I'll be finally bringing you my Yugumo commentary that I've promised for quite a while. I'll just talk about some of the changes that have occurred to the Yugumo and why I think that she's quite a good ship, and how you can adapt your playstyle accordingly. The other thing that I'll quickly mention is the whole Graf Zeppelin incident, or infamous incident, I guess. I won't talk too much about it because my views about the whole scenario are available on Reddit. Quite obviously a cash grab by Wargaming. I'm not particularly happy about what they did, and they shouldn't be either. And yes, they've made an apology, yes, they're giving refunds, as they should, but to be honest, this whole scenario should not have happened. Like, this whole incident should not have happened at all. Anyway, back to this Yugumo game. So this Yugumo game is from a few patches ago. It was the patch where they upgraded the torpedoes from the normal 10km torpedoes to the 12km Type 93 Mod 3, which is the same found on the Shimakaze. And I think this is what the Yugumo needed, right? The extra 2km range really helps the Yugumo fight against other ships, capital ships, as well as other radar ships, where you can have this little the extra 2 km of buffer range is quite useful. So I started this game by pushing ahead of my team, scouting for them, and trying to take the sea cap. And I'm sitting here, and I'm just looking at what I can hit with these torpedoes, and then I decide that I need to leave very quickly because there's a Donskoy coming, and a Donskoy has 11.7km radar, so I torp in front of the Donskoy, and those battleships behind the Donskoy are traveling quite slow, so if the Donskoy dodges and those battleships don't move, maybe those torpedoes will hit. He spots the Donskoy uses radar, which means that I need to leave. I engage my WASD hacks to dodge all these shells, and there's a Tashkent, and a lot of DD players right now would have shot their guns at the Tashkent, which is the wrong thing to do, because then you'll just be spotted. I ate some, I don't know what I ate on my rudder. I think it was some AP, and that was a big hit. But those torpedoes look quite good. I think a few of them might clip the Donskoy. And the thing is, if I didn't have those extra 10km, I may not have hit him. So extra 2km, sorry. So now that the radar's over, and I know the enemy team doesn't have any other significant radar ships, I can now go back onto the cap and recontest. Did I hit anything of those torpedoes? No, I didn't. Okay, that's unfortunate. I thought I did. But the fantastic thing about the Yugumo compared to the Shimakaze is that the torpedo reload is significantly shorter, and I don't even have torpedo armament expertise, which would reduce the torpedo reload by another 10%. And I apologize for the widespread torpedo launch. It's not actually widespread, it's just a replay glitch. They're all narrow spread. No one uses widespread in this game. So the Donskoy has decided to use the Tashkent smoke, and that Donskoy should have just kept sailing straight through, to be honest, because if there's a DD which you've radared, and a DD which you radared is now contesting the cap, and you're sailing into a smoke and sitting in torpedo distance, basically, you're going to get hit, right? And long story short, this Donskoy does eat torpedoes, and Shimakaze these Yugumo torpedoes are the same as the Shimakaze. They pack a lot of damage, especially to a cruiser which doesn't really have a big thick citadel belt. A cruiser can needs to avoid taking as much damage as they can. And sure enough, these torpedoes go straight to the smoke, and 2 torpedoes clip the Donskoy, almost kill him, leave him on 2,500 HP basically. And I'm telling my team to focus fire on the Donskoy and get at him, and sure enough, the Edinburgh managed to snag him. Now I need to be careful with my positioning. Tashkent's pushing behind, and he might be able to spot me. There's also a Yamato in front of me. The Bismarck's pushing around the island, and he's probably going to be a good torpedo target. And the enemy team has capped the B cap in the middle, so I need to watch out for that DD who's potentially in front of me as well. So the Tashkent, I pretty much sail away, give him a space, give a bit of space, but I'm still spotting the Tashkent. And once the Tashkent is low enough and where I feel confident that I can shoot him, and the rest of the enemy team is behind the island, it might be a good time to engage. But I just hold my fire for now, because there's no point in me unnecessarily giving away my position just yet, because I want to torpedo from stealth. unless the Tashkent gets really close. And the Tashkent launch torpedoes, fortunately they miss. I don't know how long that torpedo range was. Maybe it was about 8 kilometers he torpedoed before he came past. That Bismarck is 10 kilometers, 10.2 kilometers away from me. And normally with the normal, the stock standard 10 kilometer torpedoes from the Yugumo, those torpedoes will miss. So I shoot my guns trying to kill secure the Tashkent, and the Donskoy kills him. But I'm in a good position where I can shell a few battleships, and I just use my smoke and play like a gunboat. The Yugumo has decent guns, damage is okay, fire chance is okay, the rate of fire is okay. I mean, it's not, it's not Russian, American DD level fast, but it's okay. And the fire chance is okay. So I managed to get a fire on the Bismarck. Hopefully I can force his damage control before the torpedoes hit. And you can notice that he's like 10.4, 10.3 kilometers away, and if I didn't have the 12 kilometer torpedoes, it's unlikely that my torpedoes would have even hit him. And they look really, really good, and I should be able to get this kill. Yep. The Bismarck detonates. That's really unfortunate for him. At least he gets the 10 flags. So now my torpedoes have about another 20 seconds to reload. There's the Armada in front of me. I've got about 15 seconds of my smoke. So I'll start shooting the Armada, try and get a fire on him and force him to damage control. And then if I can get some torpedoes on him, I can get some permanent flooding. So, if you don't have, the thing about the Yugumo is that this is from a few patches ago, and this is before. I think this is also the same patch where they allowed the Yugumo to take torpedo reload booster instead of smoke. And if you don't have, if you have torpedo reload booster, yes, you can launch more torpedoes, but then it's very difficult for the Yugumo to use its guns, and its guns are actually quite good. So maybe if you had torpedo reload booster, you could get a few more kills. But you can see in the position that I am, and looking at how defensive the enemy team is. Right, there's only 2 ships which I can actually torpedo. The Armada in front of me, and I think it's an Amagi behind the island. Right, and if I had torpedo reload booster, it's not really gonna help. Sometimes it's viable, sometimes it's not. And this game, on Tears of the Desert, I don't think it's the best choice to take. But the Armada, it's a slow, lumbering battleship. My torpedoes travel at 67 knots, but 12 kilometers range, and even though he's sailing away, there's more than enough range for my torpedoes to catch up to him, and I should be able to get a few solid hits on him. Alright, 2 hits, that's 28k damage. Got flooding, so he's forced damage control now. So if my team manages to get any fires on him, it's gonna stick. Just looking around, the enemy team has 1 DD left. It's a Shimakaze. Just need to keep an eye on it. If the Mogami wasn't there, if the Mogami wasn't so close, I probably would have started using my guns. But I have to keep an eye on the Mogami. The Magi, I was thinking about torpedoing the Magi. My torpedoes are about to reload, but then the Magi's so low that he's about to die anyway. And with these 12 kilometer torpedoes, I can see that there's the Montana 12 kilometers away, and he's sailing towards me, and I launch my torpedoes, and the Mogami and Montana are converging, so hopefully my torpedoes can hit. I'm aiming at the Montana. If I hit the Mogami, that'll be a good thing, but there's nothing really stopping me now from using my guns. So I take a few shots at the Mogami. If I can get a fire, that'll be good. Angle away, and I see the Hindenburg. It's actually quite close. The Hindenburg's quite scary because its shell velocity is very high, and so it's very easy to hit things. And so there's 2 reasons why I decided to use my guns. The first thing was to scale the Mogami, and also secondly to let the Montana. If the Montana is not meant to, it's like the Montana's meant to see, oh, the DD has gone behind the island, so he's meant to think that he's safe. Mind games kind of thing. So the torpedoes, I managed to get 3 hits on the Montana, cause flooding. If I can get a fire, that would be really good. And the Mogami, he was so focused on me that he didn't think that I had launched torpedoes well, long ago. And he hits a torpedo and he dies. Up to 180k damage so far. I think the Montana doesn't have damage control. He's just eating flooding damage, which is perfect. I'll take the flooding damage. Team has all the caps, so this game is firmly in our grasp. However, you need to always watch out on the Asia server, because your team it's very easy for It's very easy to lose a game on the Asian server. Your team, it's very easy for for your team to throw. But I've got another 10 seconds of my smoke. I need to start moving. I don't know where that DD was. It's the Shimakaze. He was down south, but he's there's been plenty of time for him to move around. Swap over to the Hindenburg. I don't think I'll be able to achieve anything more on the Montana. So swap to the Hindenburg. And even though the Hindenburg has 27mm armor, which is immune to DDHE, if you aim for a superstructure, and the German battle cruisers and battleships both have quite a large amount of superstructure, you can still do considerable amount of damage just using your shells, and that's the advantage of the smoke. Your smoke lets you use your guns, and do some damage, especially when your torpedoes can be somewhat, sometimes inconsistent. So all my torpedoes, right, they hit battleships and a Mogami, right? They hit a Yamato, 2 hit a Yamato who was turning away, 3 hit a Montana broadside because he was an idiot and didn't realize that, he was sailing into my torpedoes, and 2 hit the Bismarck, and detonated the Bismarck sailing around the island, who didn't think that I would torpedo him from such an angle. So, my torpedoes have all been hitting battleships. They haven't really been hitting cruisers except for the Mogami, who, I don't know, ate a torpedo. So, having access to smoke is quite useful to let you do some damage when your torpedoes can't. And also, it's also quite useful in terms of a defensive tool. So if there's a gunboat DD chasing after you, if you need to disengage, if you need to smoke your allies, smoke is quite useful, right? And the torpedo reload booster, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just that I wanted to, this game got me back into playing the Yugumo, and a few games later I decided to use the torpedo reload booster and see if it's effective or not. And I've had some good games, I've had some bad games, but the games which I've had good games with the torpedo reload booster, they weren't really because of the torpedo reload booster. They were just because the enemy team were potatoes, and it's not like I got like any triple kills or anything with the TRB. So it's kind of weird because like when you have torpedo reload booster, like you're going all in onto your torpedoes, and it's your torpedoes sometimes don't hit anything. Right? I've had games where I've done like 40k damage with my guns, only guns, and no damage to with my torpedoes, and all I've been doing is just like playing like really sneaky with my concealment and spotting DDs and shooting DDs, and every now and then shooting a cruiser or a battleship, and you can't do that if you have torpedo reload booster. And I mean sometimes the enemy team can potato, and sometimes you wish that you had torpedo reload booster. I think for randoms, using either is fine, but just when if ranked ever becomes tier 9 or anything like that, I'd definitely recommend taking the smoke. So for anything like remotely competitive, I strongly recommend taking the smoke instead of the torpedo reload booster. So that's pretty much it for the game. It's pretty much in the bag. So the Yugumo is definitely a viable and somewhat competitive ship. I'd still recommend the Fletcher as the superior gunboat, smoke boat, and torpedo boat, since its torpedo reload is significantly lower, and the torpedoes have better concealment. But I think giving the Yugumo the extra 1.5 kilometer range as compared to the Fletcher, and as compared to the extra 2 kilometer range as compared to the older torpedoes, the previous set of torpedoes, it's quite good. I think these torpedoes should be made stock. Like, there's no point having to grind through the crap 10 kilometer torpedoes, and give the F3 as an option. I tried using the F3 torpedoes, and I found that it was just a bit too risky to use them safely without getting annihilated by a DD or by radar. So that's about it for this commentary. Here are the scorecards. I've also set up a Patreon, and the link is in the description box. So if you feel like donating some cash money, cash dollars, and would like to continue supporting my content, please feel free to do so. Thanks.